Well, I am Madelene, and she is Irene. She's older than I am.
So you get to boss her around, right?
No, she bosses me.
Yeah. Why not?
Where were you born?
In Brewer, Maine.
And
That's opposite Bangor.
You want the year?
Sure, if you want.
Oh,
1909. That makes us 86.
This year. And next year you'll be 87.
Well, at the end of this year, we're going to be 87.
You have a December birthday?
November.
November.
November 23rd.
What in the world made you to sign up for the Marine Corps? Can you?
Well, we just wanted to get in. We figured it was as much our war as it was anyone, so we wanted to.
Our brothers went in, and we thought that if they can do it, we can.
So we did.
How many brothers did you have that enlisted?
Well, just two. They were much younger than we were. One of them went, he worked for Lockheed until the war was almost over. And then he was a cadet in the Air Corps. He was going to be a pilot, but of course he never made it. And the other one worked for Pan American, but he was attached to the Navy somehow, and he was in the Pacific all the time.
So you certainly didn't get to spend any time with them, did you?
Well, we didn't miss him.
Okay, so what were you doing, Irene, what were you doing before you enlisted?
Oh, goodness. I was working in an insurance office, which I loathed.
Why?
It's a dirty word for me.
Insurance is a dirty word.
Insurance is a dirty word, as far as I'm concerned.
I'm sorry to say I share your feelings. Was it a career for you or just a job?
Just a job.
It wasn't easy to get jobs.
You know, it's pretty rough.
In a small place like Bangor, it wasn't at that time a big city. It's not easy to get a good job.
Did that have anything to do with your decision, you think?
No, we just saw that recruiting sergeant, and he wouldn't pay any attention to us. I don't think he wanted women in the Marine Corps. So we went to Boston and enlisted. And the first man we saw when we got in New River was that same sergeant.
I worked for the public utility at home, and I was their head bookkeeper. And I was getting all of $35 a week after 17 years. That had something to do with it.
I'm not surprised. No, mind you, the pay wasn't all that great in the Marines either. What did you get?
What?
The pay wasn't all that great in the Marines either.
Oh, no,
no,
50
but-
bucks.
But you were sure you'd get 3 meals a day.
Well, when we were on recruiting, we had subsistence. We lived in hotels, had enough money to eat on, you know. And do you want me to go on, tell you about the bond tour that we were on?
Yeah, that was a great story.
Well, we toured all of the New England states with this bond tour, and the name of the show was Direct Hit. And we had 4 men and 4 women from all the branches of the service. And Jack Dempsey and Jean Autry were with us sometimes. And who was the other?
Frankie Fontaine.
Frankie Fontaine was with us all the time. And he was so funny. We'd be entertained every night by some club, and we'd always have potato salad and ham. And we never could eat because Frankie was entertaining us. And he was the funniest guy in the world. He really was. And he had a great voice.
Yes, he certainly did.
Yeah.
He probably was a pretty significant reason why some of the people who enlisted did so, I'm sure.
He could have been. But, you know, the war was really winding down, and they weren't recruiting anymore after that, so they sent us to El Toro.
And what did you do in El Toro?
Well,
We just did office work.
we both worked for Navy Supply in El Toro, and Marines weren't supposed to be there. So
They
one guy came in one day and said, "Get these Marines out of here." And it wasn't long after, when the war was all over, we got out on the first group. I guess they were glad to get rid of us. I don't know. But we were glad to get out, too.
Yeah.
You didn't entertain the notion about signing up again when they called it?
No, they wouldn't have called us because we were too old at that time.
So, what, of all the, besides the tour that you went on, what was, I mean, Frank Fontaine is a pretty funny guy.
Oh, he was
But clearly
funny.
there had to be some other funny things that happened
Oh,
that were
yes.
just, the usual military foul-ups and stuff.
We had there was one part of it. These boys were marching off to war and they had little suitcases. Somebody filled them full of sand and they couldn't get them off the floor. That was one of the things that was funny. They were always playing tricks on each other.
Oh, yeah.
I suppose that sometimes you have to find some humor in this.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, it was a great group, though.
Yeah, most of them were awfully nice.
We had a good time during that period. It was about 6 weeks, wasn't it?
I think so, about 6 weeks.
7 weeks, something like that. Anyway, it was fun while it lasted.
They take us around the country and find places for us to sleep at night. You know, we never knew where we were going to sleep. And yeah, it was fun, exciting.
Would you do it today?
Sure.
Oh, do you think you would?
Oh, sure. Why not?
Well, I guess we'd do it today if we had the chance.
Well, if your big sister's gonna go, you're gonna have to go with her, wouldn't you? Were there, I've heard that, once you're a Marine, you're always a Marine.
Oh,
There's a
that's
special
Yes.
camaraderie among
Mhm.
Marines.
Oh, yes.
Mhm.
Can you tell me a little bit about how those kinds of relationships were formed? How did they
Oh, I
instill
don't know.
that?
I think it's the training we got,
And we went up through a lot together, and that brought us closer to each other.
You may get awfully mad, but still you stand up and fight for the Marine Corps. Everybody gets, they have their good days, their bad days, but you won't allow anybody to say anything about the Marine Corps.
Did you feel that the men Marines accepted the women Marines as equals?
I don't think they did at first. I'm quite sure they didn't want us in there at all. But we replaced the 6th Marine Division. They all went to war and we took their places.
I don't think they were entirely happy about that. I mean, after all, going out and having somebody shoot at you is a little different from sitting behind a desk and pushing a pencil. I don't know.
I'm sure there was a little bit of resentment from those
I think
guys.
there was some resentment.
But we were always treated well.
Yeah, we were up in Philadelphia at first on recruiting, and we went all up through the Dutch country and everything, and then we went to Boston on recruiting. And that wasn't as much fun as Philadelphia, because she worked for the captain who took in the officers who were enlisting, and I worked for the lieutenant who was taking in the girls, and it wasn't as much fun.
Did they always assign the two of you together?
Yes.
Yes, they
Or why do
did.
you suppose they did that?
They did that with all twins.
Even combat twins.
Even combat twins, they kept them together.
We met a lot of combat twins, and they were always together.
I didn't know that. That's really fascinating. I wonder why they would, there must have been
Well,
some reason.
They said that they would worry so much about each other that it would be better for them to be together. But a woman today was telling us that they separated them because they, on account of that family that lost so many children, they didn't want that to happen again. So this woman, I never heard it before, because we had plenty of opportunity when we were on recruiting to meet all kinds of Marines, and we never heard that before. As far as we knew, they kept them together.
Well, I suppose it could have changed afterwards.
It may have been different after, near the end of the war, I don't know.
So you joined in what year?
43.
So you were fairly early on.
Yes, we didn't get in. The first girls went to Hunter College, but we went to Lejeune.
We were the first class.
I think we were the first class in Lejeune, and we only went 3 weeks, and that was enough. It was in August. Your hands would be so wet that you couldn't take notes. The paper would be soaking wet. You couldn't take notes.
And what about the bugs?
Well, we had to wear cotton hose, you know, and they'd be soaking wet from here down to here with all the perspiration.
And the flies, boy, they latch onto your legs, you know. It wasn't a great place. Not in August or whenever it was we were there.
Yes, we were there in the month of August.
So how did they get you to your next,
Pardon?
how did they get you to your next location?
Oh, we got on a bus, and she and I were the last ones to get on, so we got to handle all the sea bags. They made us send our suitcases home, and we had regular sea bags, and we got to put all of those on the bus.
Sweet.
We were probably the smallest people there. We got to do it.
I hope you took
And
your
then we
time.
went on a train to Philadelphia. I don't know where else we went. Just Philadelphia, I guess.
Yeah.
And we got off, and we went to the office where we were supposed to do. And the first thing, you know, we wore those funny looking hats. The first thing they said, get rid of those hats.
It was government issued. And you
I
had-
know, and we had to buy our own hats. You know, the other services had everything furnished to them, but the Marines got to buy their own.
Doesn't seem right. Did they pay you more than they paid you?
No, it was just because I think the Marines got the short end of the stick. Even the men Marines.
That sure isn't like that today, is it?
I don't know.
I don't know what they do today.
Well, when you think about the amount of respect that's given to the armed forces by the community,
Mhm.
you know, if you're going to rank them,
Mhm.
you got to know where the Marines are.
Right on the top.
Can you tell me whether or not and how being a Marine has changed your lives?
Oh, yes.
It made all the difference in the world.
It opened so many doors for us. You know, we were able to get out of that small town and do all sorts of crazy things.
Yeah, we went, when we were discharged, we went to Hollywood, and because we had lived in Hollywood before, and we went to work for Technicolor. And then they had a couple of strikes, and we didn't want to cross the picket line, so we quit. And the next job was, I worked for the Squirt Company, had their headquarters in, where?
Los Angeles?
Well, up around there somewhere. And she worked for American Wine Company. And then we heard about going overseas to work. So we had a good friend who was a engineer in the First World War, and his drivers were Steve and Warren Bechtel. You've probably heard of Bechtel Builders. So he took us down to the office where they were hiring people, and he wrote his name in great big letters right across the top of our applications, and we didn't have any problems. We went to Arabia with the Bechtel Company, and we stayed there 18 months and then came home. And we tried for another foreign job. We couldn't find one, so we wrote to the Saudi government railroad and told them we would like to come back to work for them. And they sent us a cable, so we went back for them. And then we got tired of that after 2 or 3 years, so we came home, and our father died, and we needed money again. So we went to New York and to the Arabian American Oil Company, and they hired us, so we went back again.
So you spent almost as much time in the Middle East as you have anywhere else.
Well, we did. Over a 10-year period, we spent 8 years.
Yeah.
We went around, all the way around the world once. If we had never joined the Marine Corps, none of those things would have happened, you know. So we thought we were pretty lucky.